Hello, everybody. Uh, this is an important video. With the leak that came out recently with the Google hack, if you like, I don't think it's a hack, exposing of some of the information that exists in how Google has been ranking websites over the years. There was a big part of it that came out around something called Clickstream. And what I want to take you through today is why I think it's so important that people need to watch this video, why people need to know what Clickstream is, and kind of a shift maybe in how you may have thought about SEO and like how traffic works versus maybe the realities of how Google look at websites. And full disclosure, we build websites. I've been telling people about the importance of user experience for a number of years now. And actually, in the updates from Google, it was kind of validated quite heavily what I've been saying for a period of time. So first thing we'll look at here is what is Clickstream and why is it important? So Clickstream data is the path, or as it says here, or the sequence of clicks that people do, right? The interactions that people have on a website from when they first interact on a website all the way through to when they leave it. And it's basically Google's way of collecting things like the number of page views, right? The routes that people have taken, the time that people have spent on the website, these kind of interactive areas that people have interacted with your website, that how they've used it. And for years, people thought, oh, this must be something to do with Google Analytics, right? Because that's where the data is visualized. But actually, through the Google leak and the way that it was kind of what people have been looking at, I've had a good look at how it's collecting things. It's actually more in depth than that, like way more in depth than that. It's not just which pages are viewed, the sequence of those pages. It's far more than that. Which pages people exited the website, and what does the overall journey, the flow look like? It's way more than that, and how it's collected in Google. And that's because one of the big things that came out of the Google leak, if you like, was that Chrome itself as a browser is where Google are doing a lot of their analysis of user behavior, of traffic behavior. Google Chrome's the most popular web browser in the world. 65% of users on the internet use Google Chrome in one way or another. And so Google have been pulling billions, probably trillions of items of data, and then using that to try and understand how rankings work and how to order things. So what Google have been collecting then for the years is browser history. So they've been looking at what people have been doing, how people have been interacting with websites, and navigation paths. So browsing history could be the user themselves, the order which they visit website pages, how long they stay on each pages. User interactions could be, and it looks like from the leak that it's things like clicks, scrolls, other interactions that people have had with the website, and then finally navigation paths, where the sequence of URLs that people go through, right? And that could be forward through a website, so they click through from page to page to page, or that they click back to the Google search results and come off the website. And what Google have been using it for is to enhance certain things, right? So they've been using it to enhance SEO. So that's through user engagement metrics. So help them understand like bounce rates, time on site, things we've looked at previously, and click-through rates, things like that, to gain an understanding, is this a relevant result? And then use that for like behavioral insights to inform them about what makes a good website. They've been using it for personalizing search results. So that's through things like user preferences. So you might actually have noticed this yourself. If you start to click on certain types of websites, or you start to interact with certain types of content online, you actually might start to see some of those results appear in Google. And that is a good indicator of how Clickstream is actually working. And then it's relevant recommendations, so ads and things like that is how it works there. It's used to enhance the quality and relevance of any of the searches that are taking place. I think is quite interesting. So looking at satisfaction ratings is part of this leak. Was it the right link that I wanted to click on? Did it provide me with the value, or did I bounce back off that website back into the Google searches and look for another result? And it helps them refine their algorithms, I guess, ultimately to provide a more relevant search. And finally, if you look at things like fraud and like security risks, I think that's another big part of this as well, where it looks for like anomalies and patterns, click fraud, malicious activity that kind of occurs, that type of stuff. Looks at like user interactions, if websites might be a threat, and how people are working with them on that way. So that's kind of, a big part of really how Google are using this clickstream to understand how websites work. Now, if we look at the usage of this and what they've kind of then gone on to do with Clickstream, this is where it becomes massively important when we think about it from like a website owner perspective, and how we need to be thinking very differently probably about than how we've looked at our websites previously. So there's a couple of references in it. So one of them is this concept of a long click. And the long click is the concept where somebody clicks on something and then goes through the website without bouncing back into the search results. In fact, I think they look at it as like they don't return to the search results at all. It's very interesting, right? And it's like, it thinks that that's a significant indicator that this was a successful search result. The fact that no one had to come back to the search. Okay, so now we can start to think about what that means for our websites. And it looks at user engagement metrics, as we spoke about, page visited behavior before and after the site visit. It's Chrome, right? It's tracking everything. And it's using it for that side of thing. It's using it to drive this Chrome data to drive rankings, right? And now for years, Google kind of almost denied this, I'd say. They've said that, oh no, we don't use like this for browser habits for rankings, but actually they are using this in the ranking algorithm. It's quite clear from this leak that they use it as a significant part of their algorithm about how it works, the Chrome data through Clickstream. And they're looking at it on like a site level interaction. So they're looking at like buttons. Is a button clicked? Which buttons are being clicked? As I said before, scrolls, to see how people are interacting with websites. I think that's really interesting, that they're going to go into that level of depth. I'm spending more time looking into that area about the kind of that interactive part of websites. To look at the broader scale about how people interact with websites. I did a webinar earlier this week about source traffic as well. And again, they're using the Clickstream data to look at diversity of sources, different signals from social media, from brand searches, from lots of different areas, including paid as a ranking factor. For anyone who missed it, you can quite easily read some of these leaks as that paid traffic against keywords, because of how it's using Clickstream with behavioral data. If somebody's finding you for certain keywords and then the performance of that keyword is very good through a website, there is a real like knock-on effect there that they would want to rank you higher in the organic searches for that type of stuff as well. So this Clickstream data, how people are behaving and interacting with your website is so important. To see how that works. And when we think about it from user experience, for years we've looked at user experience as just, is this a better way of converting through my website? It's not really been, how does the conversion through my website influence traffic? I have said that, but it's not been like the number one thing that people talked about. But actually, things that Google talk about, things like successful sessions. We talked about the long click. So that's where the user finds what they're looking for without having to return back to the search engines and find something else. I think that's key when we think about how we route people through our websites. When they hit a landing page, what other content, how do we move them onto another page? How do we almost optimize the web journey for every type of source and visitor? Very difficult, but we probably need to be thinking about that as a more rounded web experience. And it's using this successful sessions with the user as an indicator of satisfaction. And the better the satisfaction, the higher the satisfaction level, the higher they're going to rank, websites from that side of things. And it's a kind of a mix, right? It's the session duration mixed with a return to the search engine equals like how it ranks this website. Engagements and site quality is a big part of what they talk about. So the time on site, the path, it's becoming critical for SEO, this type of stuff. It's gauging relevancy and the usefulness of content, basically, here. which is insane, right? It's like the stuff we've never really looked at before, to see how it's going to rank websites. And effectively, what they're saying is, if you break it down, it's if high engagement and low bounce, that equals higher rankings. Is a really simplified but probably TLDR way of looking at how this all works. Content relevance comes up in here as well. So there's this kind of concept that the content on your website should align with the overall topic and expertise of the website. So if you're recruiting in a certain area or certain areas, you want the content to be specific about that areas. I know it sounds like kind of like day one type stuff, but you've got to think about that for the relevance of new content in the website as well. There's this reference to something called embeddings, like Google using embeddings. And it's to compare new content with existing old content and almost look at the difference between them. I guess that's probably to stop spammy websites as well, that just appear, rank well, then change the whole thing. It's like a payday loan company, something like that, which we saw years ago. But I would just bear in mind that as long as you're a subject matter expert, Google are probably going to see that as a better thing, because people are going to have a better experience interacting with the content if it's in one topic area. Think jobs from that as well, from recruit website. One of the big things is unique, high quality content being favored, especially original content. Like original content is still king. It doesn't specifically say that AI content is bad, but what it does look at is low value, thin content. I always call it, like the thinner the content, it just doesn't really put any real reference around that. And this is really the first time, I think personally, that, and I'm really excited about this, but it's the first time that user experience and SEO have totally aligned here, and the alignment of having a really well-designed website that keep people engaged is directly linked to better rankings. And it's not just me saying this; I've been saying this for years. But this is the first time we've seen actually that having a well-designed experience with well-thought-out flows and looking at sitemaps and how users are going to interact and conversion points and having somebody go from A to B the way we want them to. Maybe interact from email traffic or from social media posts, and then be able to drive that person through a website to achieve goals and spend longer on the website. That directly links to improved rankings, which is a cool. And design elements matter. From this report, they look at there's a section in it I found that talks about almost like the hierarchy of internal links, and how having like internal links higher does act as an indicator for importance on the page. Interestingly, they talk about H1s in there, but there's actually, I don't think that I found any reference to H2s and 3s for like the HTML structure. I know a lot of SEO agencies say, oh, you've got to have your H1s, H2s, H3 structured, but actually other than the title, and there's a lot of weight on page title still, the H2s and 3s don't really get that much of a shout. Other insights, things like sandboxing, so new websites not ranking for a period of time, which is like a trust thing. Website authority through link building mechanisms is important, and and things like content freshness and the importance of having new, regularly updated content. They actually say the higher the frequency of content could increase the crawl frequency, how often Google visit the website here as well. So there's a lot to unpack through this update, through this leak, and not this update, this leak. And I hope you found this useful. Clickstream is something that I think was really never been talked about. It was talked about in court in America, but it's never talked about massively. And I hope now that this has given people an intro to what it is, why I think it's so important. And hopefully you find this useful. You can start to think about your own user experience, your own journeys, how people are working through your websites, and what that might need for your business. If you've got any questions, get in touch with me. And as you can probably tell, I'd love to talk about that to you. Have a great day.